Hello guys, life is simple, mathematics made it simpler. Welcome to the Mathlux. Today we are going to look at the inverse element. We look at the identity element in the other video. So now let's get down to action. The operation star is defined over the set R of real numbers by A star B is equal to A plus B plus 2AB for all A, B which are members of R. Find the inverse under star of a general element A, which is a member of R, and state which element has no inverse. So today we are going to solve for the inverse element. So now let's get down to action. So now solution. So now for the inverse element, the inverse of A, the general element, star the general element A itself, should give us the inverse element, the identity element E. So this is the rule for the inverse element, that the inverse of the general element A should give us the identity element E. So now let's solve for the identity element E. So now we know that the identity element for the general element A, star the identity element should give us back the general element A. So now solving this, we will get that from the rule, we know that this will give us A plus E plus 2AE to be equal to A. Then solving it, we get, when we move the A to this side, we get E plus 2AE to be equal to 0, since A minus A is 0. Then factorizing E out, we get E plus 2A, 1 plus 2A to be equal to 0. Then we get our E to be 0, since 0 divided by any number is still 0. So now we have our identity element E. So now let's get to this part again. So now getting to this part, we have A inverse star the A itself, the general element, to be equal to E. So now solving this, we are going to get a inverse plus A plus 2A inverse to be equal to the identity element, which is what, 0. So now moving A to the other side, we get the inverse element plus 2A, the inverse element, to be equal to what, minus A. Then factorizing the A inverse out, we get this to be equal to minus A. Then dividing by 1 plus 2A, 1 plus 2A, we'll get our inverse element to be equal to minus the general element on 1 plus 2A. This is how we solve for the inverse element. So now let's look at what the other part of the question was requesting for. It was a question for which element has no inverse. Which element has no inverse is stated here. So now the down part of the question, we had our inverse element to be this minus A on 1 plus 2A. So now looking down here, we can use this to solve for which element has no inverse. So now let's solve. We equate this denominator to 0. So 1 plus 2A, we equate it to 0. Then we get 2A to be equal to minus 1, since we move that one to the other side. Then dividing both sides by 2, we get that the element which has no inverse is half. So half has no inverse under this relation. So this is how you solve for the inverse element. You take it one after the other. You first solve for the identity element, then you solve for the inverse of it. Thank you.